Welcome to Point Blank. This is your host, Panama Crypto. Today, our guest is Mitoshi. He needs no introduction, really. Welcome, Mitoshi. Good to have you in Point Blank, my man.
Thank you, brother. Really, really happy and excited to be here. Thank you very much for the invitation and for having me today. How's it going?
All good, man. Let's kick it off. So, what have you been up to lately, in and out of crypto?
Um, well, I guess I'd say that lately in and out of crypto, fully dedicated to Ikagi. Um, so the system that I developed, it's basically my bread and butter today. I mean, trading, of course, the past couple of weeks have been a complete roller coaster, as I'm sure you all know, and and we all know. But it's basically I've been basically dedicating my entire time to that. Like it's either teaching classes or taking care of the community. Um, teaching the proper way to trade, or either researching, but 100% dedicated to that for the past year and a half. Probably working with a few companies, the usual stuff for marketing and helping them build brands because of my background in advertising, and obviously, man, enjoying life. Definitely taking every second I can of it, but mostly dedicated to that.
And has COVID affected your daily approach to the markets? Or basically,
Well,
it's the
uh,
same thing as before?
yeah. Yeah, it's funny that you say that because I decided to launch Ikagi, the course, like exactly in June of 2019. And after 2 or 3 years of full research. So I was basically spending my days in front of the computer, plotting mathematical equations like 20 hours a day, 7 days a week for since 2016. So nothing really changed much. I mean, if anything, what changed was probably the amount of people approaching to the trading world, especially crypto throughout COVID. But in terms of work or dynamics, it was basically the same I was doing. The only difference is like it can be really tough to be working at home with your kids running around all day because they're not attending school. So that has been certainly a challenge from time to time. But overall, it has been, pretty much the same. Besides, we had a crazy year. Uh, we had major moves that for some brought uh, an unimaginable amount of profit. For others, brought a lot of losses, but a year filled with volatility nonetheless. So it has been quite a ride this year. What else can we say about it? It's really that. But nothing has changed much, to be honest. Just working hard and focusing on that part of the work that I'm doing right now.
How was your beginning of crypto look like?
We can say that's failed with a little bit of regret and excitement. I was a professional Counter Strike player back in 2005, 2006. So by the year 2012, and being in the gaming community, I definitely heard about crypto, about Bitcoin. And I clearly remember one night I was playing Counter Strike, and someone asked me like, "You should buy some," and I was like, "I'll do it." It was like to October 2012 or something like that. I remember going online, spent a few hours reading, the Bitcoin forums and stuff like that, and I tried to buy like $500 in Bitcoin, but I couldn't. I was a little bit more complicated than what it is today, and I was tired, so I was like, you know what? I'll just come back to this later. And the sad part of the story is like I completely forgot about it for 4 years. Like literally completely forgot about Bitcoin. I mean, I went to focus on my photography career. So I got back into Bitcoin around August or May 2016, something like that. Bitcoin was around 300 or $400. So I decided to put a good amount of money into that. So that's when I really got into crypto, like officially got into crypto. 2016, I got really curious about the charts that I was looking online from the OGs and following people on Twitter trying to forecast the price action. So that really piqued my curiosity. So quickly I just went deep the rabbit hole onto the technical analysis portion of trading. So we can say that probably resumes gives you a brief summary of my story through crypto, and I have been on it since then.
You mentioned you're into photography. What is your general background?
Well, I'm almost a computer engineer. I did 4 years in university, but then I fell in love with photography. So I did what I do best. I followed my passion. So I dropped out of college from engineering, and I went to pursue a full photography career. My passion was in cars and products. So back then I was living in Venezuela. I was born in US, but back then I was living in Venezuela. So I decided that like to expand my career and my clientele, I needed to move back to United States. So I moved back to the States around what 2008, something like that, and I went full on to pursue that. I had a pretty successful career, I can say, almost 15, 16 years. Worked with some of the biggest brands in the country, won dozens of awards, and I was pretty happy with it until crypto came along, stole my heart, and
So
completely
so
forgot about
basically,
photography.
you're almost a computer engineer. Used to be
A
a
ver-
Counter Strike professional player, photographer, and now crypto trader.
Trader. Yes, exactly. Pretty wild ride, I can say, but happy every single day along the way. I mean, no regrets so far whatsoever.
So Mitoshi, what are your current crypto projects you got going on?
Well, 100% of my work is focused right now on crypto. It like I said, like I mentioned earlier, it has been a completely and 100% focus on the research from my end towards the, the secrets behind technical analysis and my system. And I can subdivide those two in probably the part from research and investigation, where I'm basically every single day putting more work and hours into really, peeling down the layers of the onion when it comes to forecasting the markets towards the future. And the other portion of it is education. I definitely, at the beginning, I had really good, I was following amazing people on Twitter. And, but for the most part, I
Do
felt there
you do
was
you
a,
mind mentioning their names?
wow. Back then, I always loved I'm very bad with names. So if I start thinking about people right now, will probably take an hour trying to remember them. But Chaos Trader was, well, Moku actually, Carp.com, a he was the one where I actually saw him using Ichimoku. So that piqued my interest. Then I started following Chaos Trader. He's amazing with Ichimoku. He is very knowledgeable on it. So I learned a lot from him. And then I don't really remember, but the usual stuff, because most of the regular accounts on Twitter, the OGs, Loom, and all of those guys, they're mostly geared towards fundamentals, trolling, joking, fooling around. But some of them, Need a Coin, I believe, was one. Um, Ambessa was another one. So there are quite a few of them that I follow regularly. In 2017, 2018, I really found a great follow on Smart Contract Trader. I believe he's from Australia or some or Europe. I'm not sure, but he's great, amazingly amazing with Elliott waves. And I found myself having a lot of confluence with his calls. So he was really good too, from the top of my head that I remember. Um, but I definitely felt that there was a void when it comes to teaching, because I mean, let's be honest, everyone, most of the generation getting into trading with crypto is a younger generation. Some of them put some of their money, some of them it's inherited, others are their savings or their salary, and they gamble away basically. I mean, it's just, I know it's a part of the process. I know it's a part of what you need in order to learn to trade, in order to make money. It's not all about, getting early and buying cheap and just holding forever. Although that's a good strategy, but it's an investment strategy. It's not a trading strategy. So I just decided that to open a Twitter to document, having a diary online of my findings. And that's basically what I started doing in 2017. I was doing my research day in and day out, and I was just basically sharing with all of them my findings until I found, strong enough about a system where I could really teach some of the secrets that I found with the price um, forecasting and the technical aspect of it. So that's basically what the second portion of it, the education part, just helping people learn good trading skills, not more so towards the analysis, but towards the planning, the strategy, and what it really means psychologically and when it comes to trading, because trading is not a forecasting the price action. It's not really that hard. There are many, countless of systems that you can use or apply to forecast the price action. The problem comes with our psychology and the emotional part it brings, because you might be immerse yourself in a problem of gambling. And if you don't know how to control those emotions, you will basically gamble out all of your money. So I have been, and that's what I'm focused for the most part right now. It's in the education aspect of it to help others, bring their full potential, and basically the abilities, give them the ability to respect their money, and trade properly. So they don't lose that along the way. So it was a little bit extended, but it just goes like that.
What about your paid group? You have a big,
Yeah.
and you just mentioned that you started the group back in June 2019.
Well, I actually started the course. The course was a pretty major thing that I launched. I It's a whole system. It's a comprehensive system where I basically teach people those findings and how to apply it in order to forecast the price in time. Find those pivots, try to understand where the train is going, and finding optimal entries and exit points in time. So after a few months, I was being bombarded with private messages telling me like the price is too expensive, it's too expensive, I can afford it, I want to learn, I want to be. So I was always against, and I am still today, against paid signal groups. Nothing wrong. I don't judge people who do that, because I think if you're paying to someone to help you trade, not trade, but to give you the signals, is completely fine. I mean, unless you're not a scammer. But I have the mindset that trading is a very individual thing. It's not about me telling you buy at $10 and sell at 25, because you don't know what's my risk tolerance. You don't know the size of my portfolio. You don't know my conditions. Some people have 7 days a week to trade. Some people have only a couple of days a month to trade. So it's very counterintuitive, and it's actually very detrimental to someone's portfolio to give signals that might or might not work to everyone. So instead of that, I believe that people should educate themselves in order to thrive, or at least to learn the proper ways of how to invest or trade your money over time. And for that reason, I opened the community, but the community is more focused on sharing content, educational content. So basically, I'm a coach there. I have quite a few people, and I'm coaching them every day. Sharing a few streams a week, sharing books, writing guides, helping them to understand the regular and the basic things. To understand the trends, how to set up your stop loss, how to understand risk management, all of those things that pretty much people never told you, and we sadly find out the hard way. So obviously, one of the perks of having them on my educational group is that I share my personal traits with them. So it's not more of having a signal group, but actually just telling them, listen, I'm taking this trade of Bitcoin from, I don't know, 11K to 13K. So my stop loss is going to be uh, 20% risk of my capital because I'm starting small, or sometimes I would be like, I'm starting big right now, but with a tight stop loss, or I'm getting this stop. If you think if you are risk averse person, I recommend you don't take this trade because tops and bottoms are extremely difficult to nail down. So be aware of that. So it's always about coaching them more than giving them the signals. So the group is based on that, basically education and sharing my personal management and my personal traits with them. So it's basically a community when we are all the time fitting with each other, knowledge, ideas, traits, and all stuff like that. So it's very tight. For the most part, people are really happy. And the students, if you take the course, you obviously will know every single secret that I know. So for that reason, there's no point of charging them for the monthly fee. So they are going to be there forever, for life. I mean, we have a really tight group, over 60 guys. They all know how to use the system, and we're basically trading together day in and day out. Some of them are great with stocks, others with indices or crypto or whatever, but it is an unbelievable place to be. But I don't want to sound like I'm promoting this, but that's basically what the group means against the course.
And and Mitoshi, what type of indicators or systems you teach in your group?
I use i use Ichimoku. Is one of the uh, cornerstones of the system. Ichimoku, in my opinion, is the best overall around indicator that you will ever find in the trading world. It's not many people understand it completely, but it's can be easy and the most complex one at the same time. Ichimoku has time theory, Ichimoku has wave theory, and Ichimoku has price theory. So you master the three of them and you can become a master as a trader. Aside to Ichimoku, the only single indicator that I use is a modified stochastic, and I only use it for divergences. It is modified. I researched a little bit about 3 to 5 weeks in order to find the most optimal setting, only to spot those divergences, and it's basically a confirmation. Since my trading um, is more based on the forecasting side of it, on the predicting what Bitcoin will be and when it will shift the trend. So lag indicators are not really useful for me. So MAs, um, RSI, the regular stochastic volume, none of that works, because if I'm telling you right now that I think Bitcoin is going to turn around in April of 2021, then I have no idea where. I mean, the volume right now, it's completely, you know, irrelatable to what the volume will be in April. So for that reason, I don't use any single lag indicator. So it's basically that my system um, has Ichimoku, the stochastic for the divergences, and a few, like two or three of the Gann tools. And I use a lot something that I call sacred geometry, which is basically understanding the relationship between price and time together as a whole. So that's it basically. It's pretty simple. When people learn the system, they're like, So I need to apply this, and that's it. 5 minutes, and it's literally that. In 5 to 6, probably 3 minutes, you can figure out where the price is going, the direction, the important dates, and the important price levels. I mean, if you want to go deeper, then you apply some of the GAN tools like the GAN box, the GAN fan, or maybe some of the other GAN analysis. If you know astrology, you can go deeper into GAN, but you must know astrology in order to use GAN. But aside to that, it's pretty straightforward and easy to use. So that's basically it.
So you could say that your system is based on broader topics of numerology and GAN.
Um, it's more about, if I need to say w- the base of the system, I will have to say physics, because GAN uses astrology, and he uses geometry based on numerology. But numerology is just math, and astrology are just physics. It's just a study of the planets and the influence of those planets and the sun and the moon itself on us. So when you boil that down to the primal core, you go back down to physics and mathematics. So if you use Ichimoku, you're just using a series of mathematical progressions. So it's math again. And all of this is related a I mean, the system comes with a theory that I have, and this theory is basically based on quantum physics, physics, and math. So, uh, yeah, GAN. I use a few tools with GAN, but I don't know astrology, so I cannot use GAN 100% properly. I just take the math behind the GAN system. The same thing happens with Ichimoku. I just take the math behind the Ichimoku system. So as you can see, everything it's boiled down to numbers. So I would say, yeah, but physics and numerology basically. Not numerology itself, like people think, like, the energy of the number eight and like that, but more towards the scientific aspect of it, basically by gathering data and working that data with mathematical formulas in a simple way that we can use to understand which are the most important pivotal points in time and price levels. So yeah, I would say physics and mathematics, all of them are based on that. Elliott waves, Tone DeMark, Wyckoff, Bollinger Bands, Gone, all of them have exactly the same mathematical core behind them, every single system.
This episode is brought to you by PrimeXBT, the exchange that makes possible to trade with leverage on legacy markets from a single Bitcoin based account. So, could you enlighten us on what is numerology and GAN for the skeptical listeners?
Well, numerology is just very simple. It's the study of numbers. It has been done basically by every single ancient civilization in the past of human history. Um, Chinese, Jing and Jan. Chinese, for example, have one of the oldest um, systems to predict the future, which is called the I Ching. The I Ching basically uses a toss of three coins, and is based on a 64 and a hexadecimal system. It's based on the number 64, and with the outcome you get by tossing those three coins, you will get different information on a set of 64 cards. So that's it. That is like 5,000 years old, I believe. Then you have the knowledge the Egyptians had with math, and by building the pyramids and the understanding of the planets. And the same thing happens with the Magians, and then people like on the Renaissance era, like Da Vinci, for example, who actually got a beautiful understanding, and he was able to blend, probably like no one else, art and science by all the creations that he had. So numerology in terms of Gan is just a study of numbers, and in particular the what we call gematria. Gematria is when you basically add a value and numerological values to letters. So when you take your name, for example, if your name is John, then the J will have a letter and so and so. So you will get like John, numerical value is 58, for example. So that will have a weight, but and that will represent something. But numerology, it's just basically a little bit more inclined towards the esoterical view or the spiritual view of things, because they have sentimental definitions, like this is positive for you, this is negative for you, this represents you're going to do good, this represents you have power, and so and so. So it's not that scientific as you probably would think. So that's why I don't, since I'm more data driven, like obviously having a background in engineering and stuff like that, I look at it more from the mathematical, like I said, point of view, like, you know, and the physics point of view more than the numerological aspect of it. But it goes with the same. Numerology, astrology, they are all walking on the same path when it comes to Gann. That's why a good astrologer, or a someone with understanding in numerology will really understand and probably work out a really good system with Gann. That's how the two of them are related.
So, how do you use this topics to actually trade in your systems? And like, for example, if I had to study all this numerology, astrology, and Gann, I
Hmm.
wouldn't know where to start to use that information to trade. Like, I guess there's so much information out there
Well,
that you need to actually filter.
yeah, that's a little bit. That's we can say it's not a problem because it's not a problem itself, but we can say doesn't mean the underlying problem is that it's a journey of research, basically. It's not a many people think like I want to learn gun, so they just go to TradingView, they put a gun fan, and they put a little a couple numbers, and they have the answer there to forecast the price action. But it's really not like that. I mean, Gunn was a very peculiar man. He was an astrologer. He was a Freemason. He had knowledge that probably 99.9% of people don't have. So he was able to gather all that information and put it together into a system. But he never wanted to tell anyone his secret, not even to his family or his son. So he died, and the secret died with him. But he made sure that he left quite a few breadcrumbs here and there and clues on how to use the system, or to be more accurate of the secret of the universe toward from his point of view. So that's what it means to study GAN. So to study GAN is not like just learning one tool or two that you can apply to forecast the price action. Studying GAN means to, research, study, and try to find and make sense of all of the breadcrumbs that he had and he left behind, in order for you to understand the relationship between time and space, time and price. I call it time and space because of the theory of relativity by Einstein. So, and that's where quantum physics come in, basically. I mean, if we really go down to the theory of quantum physics and some of the recent discoveries in it, we can probably go as crazy as to say that time doesn't exist. So it, actually, it's a concept that is being portrayed pretty recently on movies, TV shows, on blogs. You see Joe Rogan talking about this. You see shows like Dark talking about the time travel aspect of it and everything. So it's a pretty common thing. I think there's an awakening towards that kind of talk. It's not now considered crazy. I mean, 20 years ago, you would say that time doesn't exist and people will probably slap you saying that you're a hippie and you're crazy. But nowadays, it's actually backed up by science. I mean, because if you think the theory behind quantum physics and even the theory of relativity, you probably can deduct that time doesn't really exist. And it's a wild concept, but there are many ways to prove that. I mean, time is relative according to Einstein. The bigger the mass, so the bigger the gravity pull will be, so the space fabric bends. So if you travel towards closer to the speed of light, then time will slow down, and the opposite will happen if you travel slow. So by defining the time is relative, we can say that time doesn't really exist. And as a matter of fact, time is not a fundamental property of the universe. Time is something that only appears when there's an observer. So let me give you the most basic example I can give you right now is this one. When you go to sleep, if you're sleeping in a dark room with blackout shades, and you don't have a watch, you don't have your phone with you fall asleep. When you wake up, there's absolutely not a single way for you to know if you slept for 15 minutes or you slept for 24 hours. There's no way for you to know that. It's impossible. Maybe if you think that you need to go to the bathroom fast or something like that, but there's no way for you to know. Why? Because when you're asleep, your consciousness mind just rests, is shut down. So when your consciousness is shut down, you're not observing. So you don't have a measurement to say 15 minutes pass or 8 hours pass or 2 hours or four. That's why when you open your eyes, the first thing you do is just look at your clock to see what time is it. Because you don't know, you have no idea. You lost the track of time. So that brings an interesting point, because that means that when time only happens when the conscious mind is on, when there is an observer. Quantum physics tells you that too, because of entanglement. If I have a particle here in US and I have another a sister particle in Japan, and I excite one of them, or I interact with with one of them, the other one will interact at the same time, which means that that impulse didn't travel through the world at the speed of light. It was actually, they were entangled. They're actually feeling the same thing at the same time. And what that tells you also is that there is something else. So when you move past those laws of physics, and we define that time probably is something that is only present when we're observing, then we can, another good example for that. If I were to put a mirror 65 million years, light years away from Earth, and I have a telescope right now, and I look at that mirror, we would see dinosaurs, because the light is taking Earth 65 million years to reach to that mirror. So now let that sink in for a second. If I have a telescope right now in 2020 looking at that mirror 25 million years, light years away from us, we would be looking at the reflection of dinosaurs. So that doesn't make any sense, but is how the universe, is how the laws of physics works. So basically, to just to make this long story short, the past, the present, and the future, they all coexist at the same time. It's just a matter of having a reference that make us think that we're moving towards the future. But with that concept, with quantum physics, we can say that the past can influence the future in the same way that the future can influence the past. So it's crazy, it's radical. But moving and applying this to trading, what that means is that, first of all these physical laws are cyclical, and they repeat over and over and over and over. So, and that's what Gann does. If you have the first cycle or the first impulse something ever does in terms of planets and that referential time, then you can know with deadly accuracy when things are going to turn around for that asset, for that person, for that life, for that planet, for that star, because it all comes down to that cyclical aspect of the universe. So that's, for example, and back in December of 2018, I posted a chart on TradingView when I said that the next two tops, according to my analysis, were going to be in June of 2019 and February of 2020. So for the first one, that was 6 months before it happened, because I said that in December of 2018. So the top happened in June of 2019. And for the second one was a year after, because I said that in December of 2018, and the top happened exactly on February 14th of 2020. In the same way, I have forecasted many dates that were really reversal points for Bitcoin for the past 3 years. And the reason that can happen is because time is cyclical. So if you understand the underlying math behind the cycle for anything in the universe, could be a chart, could be your life, could be the development of civilizations, governments, or whatever it is. If you understand at which point the cycle is, then you can forecast for the future. And that's how I apply it to the chart. Basically, the system, it's accurate on the weekly, on the big time frames, the weekly, the 2 week, the monthly. It's around 94% accurate when it comes to reversals in time. So that means, to put in simpler words, it is right at around 94%, around 94 times out of 100. So that's a pretty huge hit ratio. So what I do today is that basically I trade time. I don't really care about the price action much. I mean, if I, because what I do care, because of how accurate I can be, because the price can fluctuate a lot. I mean, you might have a resistance at 10K, and it probably is a strong one. But if it gets broken, it can go to 20K in a single 5 minute candle, for example. And so those deviations are really a little bit harder to pinpoint. And you don't know really sometimes how much a candle or a wick is going to extend. So that makes us a little bit harder when it comes to the price levels. But when it comes to time, it's so accurate that I find myself trading time basically. For example, if I have a date for Bitcoin on November 13th, which is the next one coming, then I will wait until a few days before to open my trade. So if we have been coming from the bottom and we have been climbing up for, I don't know, 3 months, 4 months, 6 months, and I'm looking at the monthly, and by the way, we have a monthly pivot in November. So we have been coming up basically since March. I have a monthly pivot in November. So if in November I have a price hitting a resistance and I have a bearish divergence and Ichimoku is getting weaker, and I notice that they have the price is close to a Gann price, an important Gann price at the top, or in an Ichimoku Gann price at the top, in an Ichimoku price level at the top. And if I do some sacred geometry and I realize that the price is near a top two, then I know that my chances are extremely strong for the price to reverse in November. I mean, it doesn't mean it's going to have a recession, a major correction. It doesn't mean it's going to have just a 5% correction. It doesn't mean anything in terms of extension. It just means the trend has a strong chance of reversing. So what I do is like I go to smaller time frames like the daily, like the 4 hour, and I try to pinpoint down a pivot on those smaller time frames, and I open my trade. If you have good risk management, you have a strong chance of having a successful trade. Because let's say we sell everything and we short at, let's say, I don't know, 16K exactly. So if the price goes to 16K in November and I absolutely short at the important GAN, or I want to say the waves and particle, my system level is at 16K, and I open my short there, and November ends up being not a reversal pivot, but a breakout pivot, then my invalidation level is easy because the price goes up past that resistance at 16K. I will just get stopped at a small loss and I'll just reroute and open a fresh long. And I know I will just have to wait for the next monthly pivot, which I believe is in February or April. And I will just hold my longs for 4 or 5 more months. So that's how I basically find myself trading this. I trade time more than price levels. If something is going down, for example, and it has been going down for a period of month that represent a cycle, then I will get on that trade. It doesn't matter if it's 10, 20, 60, 50% down. I will just get on that trade because I know the chances of the price reversing the trend is the highest at that point in time. Now, whether if it pumps, maybe if it's a dead cat bounce and it only goes 10% up and then it keeps going down, but you will be able to profit out of that 10% pump. Or maybe you just got an ultimate bottom and the price goes up 300%, and basically you just ride that entire trend. That's what we did in May. In between April and May, I said it on 2019. On 2019, around October, I said that I had confluence for dozens of vaults having pivots between March and April of this year. And between March and April, all we did was having that all season from May until July. And we capitalized like you have no idea, at least on the group, from those trades. And why? Because they have reversals. All of the alts had reversals between March and April. So that's basically what the way that I do, or at least me and my students do, to forecast and apply that to the price action and our trading styles, obviously.
So Mitoshi, how did you evolve from the beginning to where you're now? Where do you started? Do you started straight up with Gann and numerology?
No, no, not at all. I started with the basics, like everyone else, literally support and resistance, RSI, stochastic, and that kind of stuff. The thing is, like, pretty early, um, I guess it's probably something that has to do with my personality. I'm really, really good at spotting patterns, especially visual patterns. They come really easy to me. So pretty early when I started getting curious about the technical analysis aspect of trading, I realized that the chart was had a lot of patterns that you can follow. Sometimes, and I don't mean like patterns of a flag or head and shoulders. I mean patterns like cyclic patterns, like when you see the price goes down in a way and then you know it's going to turn up because you've seen assets doing exactly the same before. So those kind of patterns, visual patterns. So at the beginning, I wanted to go to the source, so I got a book on Japanese candlestick patterns, because obviously the Japanese were the ones who invented the candles as we know it today. So I got that book. I don't know if the name is like the Bible of Japanese candlestick patterns or something like that. I don't have it anymore with me. I gave it away, but I learned that. I learned support and resistance and the basics, like, the 50 MA, the 100 MA, the stochastic RSI, the Bollinger, the Bollinger bands. But I was lucky enough because I got really curious about Ichimoku early in the beginning. So I'm very curious by nature, and I have this. You can say it's an obsessive compulsive need to understand how and why things work. So as soon as I got into Ichimoku and I got curious about it, I basically spent every single resource I had when it comes to time and investing in education to know how actually Ichimoku worked and why it worked. What was the whole deal behind it? So it was actually Ichimoku and the rules of Ichimoku the ones who led me to Gun. And after that, it was just a snowball towards all of this that I'm telling you right now.
That's a long path. Makes me want to sign up for your Ikagi course.
Oh, please, man, I will be more than happy to teach you the things. So they're, to be honest, they're amazing. I have teach. I believe I've had 64 students so far. One of the things that I'm proud of is that I have 100% satisfaction. Every single student I had not only learned to trade better, have better strategy, better plans, better risk management, but also find themselves in an unbelievable situation when they learn that all of these is not only applied to the price action, but also to their lives, to the world to everything, and it's pretty remarkable. Actually, I never stop getting impressed myself whenever I'm in a class and I'm just talking to the other student or the person, and I'm listening to myself talk. I'm like, always, it's like, I can't believe this is true. I can't believe this really happens. I can't believe this is just crazy, the fact that it happens. But the problem is, like, we are animals of habit. And when we get that information hardwired to our brain from our childhood, some of those concepts are so hard to tear apart. Are they're like roots of a really deep tree. So you sometimes you need to bring burn the house down, literally to root those trees in order to learn these secrets and these crazy ideas that they seem crazy because of what we learn. So we judge. But in reality, they're not crazy at all. They're natural, they're remarkable, and they work. That's what matters. They work. And one of the things that I'm happier than ever, because when you face the reality of our physical world universe, then the preoccupations and being worried about things just fades away, because you understand and you have a place. You understand that things happen for a reason. You understand that everything is connected, and when that happens, you learn to accept. When you learn to accept, then you don't get sad or worried about the bad things. And when the good things happen, you are not greedy also, and you also take that profit with pride, and you understand that things came to you because you work hard for it. So it definitely changes also your mindset into a higher state, because everything that happens to us, we can either take it bad or good. I mean, if someone punches at you, the first instinct that you have is to throw the punch back. But if you sit down 1 second and you listen to the person, and you try to understand where they're coming from, then things changes. Things change. I mean, I'm sorry. A couple days ago, I have the perfect example. Someone came to my DMs. It was a person, a friend of mine that I was talking to for a month about Gann and stuff like that. And out of nowhere, he came to my DMs calling me like, you are a fucker. Like, fuck you. I mean, you're the worst. You left me hanging. You never talk to me anymore. And he was cussing, and insulting me and all of the things. And I told him, like, hey man, listen, I don't know where this is coming from. I haven't talked to you because I've been extremely busy with my work. But if you don't know how to keep a respectful conversation, then don't talk to me and don't bring this drama into my life, because I don't like it, and I will not talk to you. So he kept going at it. He kept going, he kept going. But you know what? I was patient, and I told him, but let's just be honest. I told him, tell me what you feel. Stop going around in circles and insulting and these and talking about your feelings, and just be straight. Tell me what you expected and what's the problem that you're facing right now. And he was like, I don't know. I'm waking up angry every single day. I don't know what's going on, this and that and the other. And I'm like, yeah, but that means that you need to change something. There's something going on. I mean, to make this story short, too, we talked like for 30 minutes. The end of the conversation was like, brother, I'm extremely sorry that I came at you like this. I don't know what happened to me. I shouldn't have talked to you like that. I now, thanks to you, I understand that there are some things that I am not doing right, but I'm also just procrastinating the solutions, and I'm not thinking straight. And now you gave me a guide in terms of what to do next, and I appreciate you. You're my friend. I love you, and this and that. And I was like, it's okay, brother. I don't have hard feelings. I mean, it's just what it is. I mean, sometimes we're in our best shape, and that's perfectly fine. I mean, but that's why I'm here. That's why you're here. That's why we're all here. It's all about listening to each other. And so, in this kind of mindset, it's not because I'm a monk or I meditate 20 hours a day. It's just a mindset that comes from that. realization that to take liability for your the things that you do to, and if you're following someone else's signal and you lose money, what the first thing the person do is because of you that I lost money. You made me lose money. People don't take liability. And I was reading a book on psychology, and the book says like humans always blame someone else for their problems. You got late, it's because there was traffic. You didn't finish your work, it's because the computer broke down.
You,
You didn't bring your homework, it's because the dog ate it.
you sound that as if you have read Eckhart Tolle.
Mm. Yep, I definitely know what you're talking about. But it's true. It's true. We are always blaming someone else. And I quickly find out on Twitter in 2017 and 2016, people were like, I lost money because of the whales. I lost money because of the manipulation. I lost money because someone pumped it. I lost money because no, dude, no. It doesn't have anything to do with whales or manipulation or volatility. You lost money because you
Because of
didn't
you.
have a plan. You lost money because you were reckless. You lost money because you were over leveraged. You lost money because you didn't have a risk management plan. That's why you lost money. So the system helps immensely with the psychology portion of trading too. Like it's something that gives you the tool to grow overall in life, and that's what I think the biggest value is for this, because it will help you grow as a person, and it will give you an amazing tool that actually has very small comparison in terms of forecasting important dates, because I know my shortcomings. I know that I need to grow on a lot of aspects. I know that the more I learn, the more I discover things that I need to learn way more. I'm very humble about the knowledge, and I know and understand that it is a life journey to be learning and gathering knowledge. But at the same time, I don't really see people forecasting time. Very, very few people can do it. They Some of the people that I see get close to it are either astrologers or gun traders. Gun traders make sense because gun traders plot the relationship between time and price. So they have an idea on those cycles. And astrologers, because they study the planets. So they know this planet is going to have an influence on the other planet. And then Mercury retrograde is coming. So that we're going to have an influence on the price too, et cetera, et cetera. But the reality is like very, very few people really understand the role of time in trading. And in my opinion, is basically one of the most, if not the most important people should be learning. Because yeah, the price is going to go down and it's going to go up. But how many people that you know can answer when? Maybe not necessarily the exact when, but probably an idea or the highest probability for something happening in the future. So that's a question that very few people can answer actually, and people neglect that.
I'm definitely going to sign up to your course, man. We need to talk after podcast. Changing subjects
I'll
here,
give you a
man.
crazy, I'll give you a 50% discount for sure.
Nice. What do you make out of this bullish news about PayPal, JP Morgan, Michael Saylor, the bull, and MicroStrategy? Is this a big nothing burger, or this is the real deal news that we've been waiting for a while?
I mean, Bitcoin is because Bitcoin is in a bullish trend. I have a lot of metrics when it comes to Gann and Ichimoku that are telling so. So although it depends on the time frame that we look at. If we look at the probably monthly time frame or the next few years, is definitely bullish, and no doubt Bitcoin is getting the adoption um, it needs. I mean, we as traders and as users of the technology, whether we started in 2016 or 2012 or 2018, we are spearheading the movement. So little by little, all of those things you're are just telling you like Bitcoin is solid and the adoption is happening. It is not if not a question of when, of if, but when. So, but it's a process. Like I just said, it's all about cycles. Things don't happen overnight. Some of them need to develop over time. And basically all of this is bullish, but like I said, it just goes with the sentiment of technical analysis. On Ichimoku, we're in a bull trend on almost every single time frame, but the monthly and the 3 month are the only ones missing. But the 3 week, the 2 week, the weekly, they're all bullish right now, for at least from the Ichimoku and from the Gann point of view. um Now, if we talk about the short time, probably a couple months on a couple weeks, I mean, that's a little bit tricky because obviously Bitcoin has been running up on this news. So I think right now there's no divergence. I think the news are going with the price action. And for that reason, if Bitcoin is going to correct, it will be like that too. It will be with negative news. Probably, if I need to put my finger to something, it will be with the state of the global economy. So the global economy is shaky. Obviously, it's not completely recovered. Obviously, it's going to go down again because of COVID and everything. There's a lot of industries that are actually going to disappear as we know it, and that's a fact. So probably those waves are going to be felt with Bitcoin. However, like I said, when Ichimoku is bullish, all you need to do is just long on the dips. It's just long on the dips. That's all we need to do. We know from math that when Bitcoin corrects in bull trends, that correction is on average between 30 and 50%. So I mean, if you average your buys every time Bitcoin just dips anywhere between 30 and 50% or 30 and 40%, then we should be good until the trend reverses. But so far right now, the trend is strong. So it's definitely bullish. However, I'm not 100% sure that Bitcoin it's going to make all-time highs anytime soon. The monthly on Ichimoku suggests that we're going to be within the range for a little bit more time. So when I mean range, I believe from 20 to 3K. It's a big range, but it's a range that we have been on and on right now. I think it's a little bit too early to define a pattern on a big time frame. I don't think we might be building a bull flag, but I believe it's a little bit too early. So I think Bitcoin will blast and get into a full bull trend more closely to 2022, 2024. So I think we're going to have a few swing trades and a few legs up and down probably for the next year or for another year, I believe. So that's probably what I see with Bitcoin right now, unless, of course, we break 20K or something like that. Right now, we all know it's a really crowded trade, 14K. So everyone is expecting 14K. That makes me, it's making me a little bit, doubtful of where the price is going to go right now because I think either it's not going to go to 14K and it's going to go down from here, or it's going to go maybe to 15 or 16K and then go down from there. I mean, I just fundamentally, I mean, from the sentiment aspect, I feel 14K is such a crowded trade, but we will see. I mean, we're not in a rush. As long as we have a plan and we trade accordingly, I think we should be good. However, bottom line, Bitcoin is super bullish, and there's no doubt about that.
That's a lot of alpha, Mitoshi.
Hmm.
Um, and with that, we end our episode. I'm
Mm.
extremely happy to have hosted Mitoshi. Although many people in crypto Twitter doesn't know, he's one of the biggest influencers in Latin America for cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin. Thanks for coming on, man. Can you tell us
Absolutely,
where
man.
we can find you?
Thank you very much, brother. I appreciate that. Yeah, that's another thing. I appreciate you saying. If we think that people that speak English or people from USA, Europe, Asia, and something like that don't have many educational resources on these topics, the Latin America community, it's even worse. So it's something I really look forward to helping people from who speak Spanish, basically Spain, Latin America, all of those countries, Venezuela, Chile, Ecuador, Argentina, because there's a big void on when it comes to education and trading on those countries. And I'm fortunate that I speak both languages. and that's why you hear the accent. But um, definitely something to share here. You can find me probably on Twitter. Um, you all know my name, CryptoSays, at CryptoSays, and on my website, which is www.theikagisystem.com. You will find everything there when it comes to the system, the theory behind it, what you will learn, the things that you can expect in terms of the group. If you were to inquiry about the educational group or the trading course, I'm planning on having a big discount for Black Friday. I think I'm gonna close the enrollments for the rest of the year. So I want to take a few more students for November, but that was it. I'll probably take a break until 2021 and, take a little bit of time for the family throughout the holidays. So that's the website. And on Twitter, probably those are the best places to find me and reach if you have any questions. But thank you, brother, for having me. I truly appreciate this time. I really had fun talking to you earlier. And right now, I hope really people that what I do want more than anything else with my Twitter handle and the things that I share is to spark curiosity and inspire people to learn more about different ways, different ideas, and to explore, to, walk down a path of investigation, research. I mean, the world is a really awesome place. And we oftentimes find ourselves, doing the same things day in and day out and just watching pass by us without doing anything different. So to share things a little bit from time to time, I believe is one of the best things that we can do. So that's what I hope this, you know, we reach people in that way. And I can thank you enough. It was really awesome. Thank you, brother, for having me today.
Thanks for listening. Until next time, peace. This episode was brought to you by PrimeXBT, the exchange where you can trade without KYC on legacy markets with your Bitcoin. You can trade commodities like gold, silver, oil, even indexes and forex. Join now and get a 50% bonus on top of your deposit for trading at u.primexbt.com/Panama.